podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Welcome to Longsight for our little talk today. So what are you going to ask me?
That was the voice of one of British Speedway's all-time legends, Peter Collins MBE. A one-club man. He only ever rode for the Belle Vue Aces in Great Britain, and his roll call of honours is as long as his arm, but it's not as long as his roll call of individual honours, which of course is led by his world title win in 1976. Now he's put all of his stories into a book. It's been long awaited. Keeping It on the Tyres is the name of his new autobiography. It's over 500 pages. There's loads to go at, and it's available now. And in this podcast, we'll hopefully give you a bit of a flavour of the kind of thing you can expect from the book, and we'll listen back to some of Peter's great moments as well.
Can Peter Collins avenge that World Championship defeat in Gothenburg? Can he beat his old ex-teammate, his old rival, Ivan Major? Major is the one who is taking his time to settle, trying the old kidology perhaps. Collins got a quick starter. Major, of course, like jet lightning. And it's Major on the outside and Collins on the inside. And it's Major who leads into the first corner. Collins is in second place. In third place, it is Gordon Kennett, and Kennett has got the better line around the outside of Collins, and Kennett's gone towering under Major, and Major wasn't expecting that. And now we've got Collins trying the inside one on Kennett, and this really is super speedway. Kennett battling back again under Collins, and Collins now trying the outside run, so very wide, and he has gone past them as sweet as a nut. What a piece of speedway action. Collins was jostled and bumped and banged by Gordon Kennett. He got no mercy from him. Collins is going to be the winner, and what a winner, Peter Collins.
During the 1970s and early 80s, Peter Collins was a national hero, really. It's hard to compare a British Speedway rider who would have the same exposure and the same stature in the eye of the British public than Peter had back then. He was on the back pages of the UK tabloids, a true sporting superstar. And of course, his performances were on national TV back then, as you just heard there with the great Dave Lanning commentating on one of his international performances. He had a globe-trotting lifestyle. He was living the life of a rock star, as we'll hear, and had bigger paydays than those of contemporary international footballers, certainly at the time. And as a Speedway rider, he achieved everything. And he was a one-club man, only ever rode for the Belle Vue Aces, and for the Aces, this is what he won. He won 3 British League titles, 71, 72 and 82, a Knockout Cup in 72, 73 and 75, the League Cup in 1983, the Inter-League Knockout Cup in 1975, the British League Pairs with Chris Morton, his great friend, in 1984, and he also broke the Hyde Road track record on 2 occasions, in 1975 in a World Cup qualifier, and in a Grand Prix round, as it was then, in 1976, of course, the year that he became the world champion as well. So those are his achievements just with the Belle Vue Aces. And as an individual rider, as far as representing his country, he represented his country 154 times, a record that's almost certainly never going to be broken due to the sheer amount of fixtures required to do that. England, 136 caps, British Lions, 12 caps, Great Britain, 2 caps, Great Britain under-23s, 3 caps, and he also got an England cap in Division 2 as well, just the 1 cap there. But his major honours, well, of course, he won the World Championship in 1976. He also won the Seagrave Trophy in that year as well. He's won 5 World Team Cups, 73, 74, 75, 77 and 1980. 4 World Pairs winners, with 1977 alongside Malcolm Simmons, 1980 alongside Dave Jessup, 83 with Kenny Carter, and 84 with Chris Morton. He's been European champion in 74, the Intercontinental champion in 76 and 77, British champion in 79, Masters of Speedway in 78, British League Riders champion in 74 and 75, the Internationale in 74 and 78, a British Grand Prix in 76, British Under-21 champion in 73, the Daily Mirror International Tournament winner in 73, and he broke the track record at Wembley in the World Team Cup final in 1973. It was Heat 2, in case you were wondering what heat he did. And that's just a list of his achievements, let alone the actual stories that go with it. So I caught up with Peter Collins before his book signing at the Longsight Sports and Social Club, which is just adorned with Belle Vue Aces memorabilia from yesteryear and right next door to the National Speedway Stadium as well. So there was a huge queue gathering outside of fans, of friends, as I say, of heroes of Speedway as well. People like Jason Crump were in the queue to go and meet Peter Collins and get their book signed. And I caught up with Peter and started by talking about the venue that we were at Longsight and the memories that area of Manchester has brought to Peter in his life.
Well, obviously Longsight's very sort of familiar to me because obviously the site of the old Hyde Road track is just about a mile from here, or half a mile in fact.
Yeah.
And that's where I had some of the best moments of my life in there. And I only ever rode for one club, which was Belle Vue, so it's great to be back so close to the place.
It is one, and especially at this time as well, where Belle Vue have now won the league title after so long again, and back on top of the Speedway world in this country too.
That's right, yeah, because during my sort of time at Belle Vue, when I first joined the club, we won the league championship twice while I was in the team, and also 3 times because they won it before I joined. I joined Belle Vue in 71. So I won the league championship with them in 71 and 72, and they'd won it the previous year as well.
It was a rich time, wasn't it? Because the Belle Vue Aces side at that time was also evolving as well from the Peter Craven era, Soren Sejostin and riders like that too.
Well, Belle Vue has got such a fantastic history because the club started in 1929, and initially they started at the Dog Stadium, and then the owners of Belle Vue built the world famous Hyde Road track where I spent all of my career.
Not a bad home track to have for your entire career.
Well, it was very, very special. I mean, so famous. It was like wherever you go in the world, if you mention Manchester, everybody knows about Manchester United. But if you go to a country that knows anything about Speedway, you mention Manchester and they all know about Belle Vue Speedway. Historically, it's the most famous club in the world.
Heat number 14, let's watch this outside. Olsen White, remember, Collins on the outside in grid 4. And it looks like Olsen and Collins have got out together, and Olsen gets to the corner first. Collins is back in 3rd place, going around the outside of Dave Jessup, and now Collins chasing after Ollie Olsen. Just cannot take it away from these two riders. They're having the most colossal battle. Olsen leads. 2nd place is Collins. Let's just sit back and enjoy this tremendous action.
You've now written this book detailing your time. It is a chunky production, I'll say. There's a lot of pages in there and a lot of stories. Why now? Why is now the time for you to be going back through these memories and putting this incredible book together?
Well, for a number of years, I've been reading a lot of the autobiographies and books done by a lot of my competitors and other riders that I used to race against. And I realised that at some point I had to do my book. And I needed to do it while I could still remember everything, because I really do have a good memory and I can remember a lot of interesting stuff. And the book's actually not just about the racing side and stuff, it's all about the family life and home life and my family history and a lot of the stuff that used to happen out on the road. Funny stories that people basically had no chance of knowing.
That's the stuff that people want, though, isn't it, Peter? They
that's
want to know
how I
these
looked
stories.
at it. They needed a different book, not just about how many points I scored at Belle Vue one night. They want to know, more about what you did in your spare time and the things that happen to you when you're on the road and stuff. Because the amount of travelling that I used to do, I used to drive thousands and thousands of miles a year all over the world, and such funny things happen when you're out on the road with your teammates and stuff. So I decided that I wanted to put a lot of that in the book, so I started doing it in January of this year, and decided to devote the whole of this year to finishing this book.
You've done it.
Yeah, because also not only was I doing the book, but I've also had 2 shoulder replacement operations. I had one in early February. I had the second one 30th of.
Wow! So it's been a busy year for you.
So I thought, while I'm sort of incapacitated, it's perfect time for me to write it, because I tend not to use a keyboard and computer to write stuff. I still do it in the old freehand way.
Done it the old-fashioned way. So you've really written it all down then.
In the new year, sort of January time, I saw Dawn French on the TV, and she said that she'd just finished a book, and she'd gone to Cornwall for 6 weeks to write this book in solitude on her own. And she said she was doing it. She was taking an A4 notepad, a load of pencils, and a rubber eraser and a pencil sharpener, and she was going to do it the old-fashioned way. And I thought, you know what, that's good enough. If it's good enough for Dawn French, it's good enough for me.
Obviously, it must be a great source of pride to look back on this. It's all in the book now, and it is available. It's published by Retro Speedway, so you search out their website and you'll find it. Peter Collins MBE, keeping it on the tyres. What was the? What was that
about?
Yeah.
When I first started racing, my first sponsor, Jim Rawlinson, he had some mechanics, and always before I went off to a meeting, they'd always say that to me: keep it on the tyres. And that actually means, basically, when you're out racing, make sure you stay on the bike.
Yeah, don't crash.
If you crash it and you end up on the centre green or in hospital, you don't learn anything and you don't earn anything either.
No. So,
you're better off keeping it on the tyres and gaining the experience.
Wise advice for any speedway rider there, and that's still true today, isn't it?
Well, I still say that to a lot of the lads now.
Yeah.
It might be a bit old-fashioned, but it's still true to the day. If you're not on the bike, if you've crashed it and you're watching from the centre green, you're not earning and you're not learning either.
So when you've thought back about these stories then, I mean, give us a flavour of what life was like on the road then, because these days riders are obviously jet-setting here, there and everywhere, and quite often they've maybe got people doing the stuff for them. Life would have been different in the 1970s and 80s, I would have thought.
Well, to be fair, because I was so successful, I did more meetings all over the world than probably anybody else did. I know a lot of lads go back now to Sweden and Poland, but I used to do all that as well. And I probably used to go to Germany sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, as well as all my British commitments, because these days, their actual race nights, they probably only got fixtures like 1 or twice a week, whereas at my time we had like clubs that used to race every day of the week. Like on a Monday there was like Reading, Exeter, lots of other ones, Newcastle, and on a Tuesday we had Leicester, which I was nearly always at Leicester on a Tuesday. Then Wednesdays we had the likes of White City down in London. Thursday was Sheffield, Ipswich. Just about every day of the week I was riding. Sometimes I went for about a month and probably did, in 30 days, I probably did 32 meetings in 30 days. Sometimes 2 in a day.
I was going to say that means that's twice in a day then.
Yeah. So the amount of travelling and driving that we used to do and flying. Yeah.
Amazing.
And the people that used to meet out and about on the road, it was very similar to what all the pop groups were doing at the time. All the music people, they were all doing the same sort of travelling like us, in bands and trucks and things.
You're living a rock star lifestyle in a way.
We were, absolutely, yeah. And we did meet a lot of rock stars during that time, yeah.
Who have you met?
We sort of met Jeff Lynne from ELO and the Searchers, the Hollies, and in my free time I used to go and watch a lot of these bands during the time, because during the 70s it was a massive sort of glam rock time with the music and stuff. And I recently met one of my heroes, Noddy Holder out of Slade.
Have you?
I'd got close to seeing him a few times in the past, but he was actually at a neighbour's party a few weeks ago, and I got a picture taken with Noddy, which was brilliant. So, even heroes have got heroes.
Well, that's a fantastic tale.
I spent a lot of times driving to Germany, and the border crossings and things like that with your old paperwork and passports and all that you used to go through in the pre-Europe days. And and some of the things that used to happen. And also going into Poland and that in later years. Because when Poland first kind of opened up to the Western riders and that, I was the one that initially did all the contracts for, well, about 6 or 8 of the riders that went to Poland first. So I was very much involved with all that. And me and my mate Alan Ratcliffe, we used to take all the bikes to Poland in March before the season started, and then pick them up in October before the season, when the season finished. But you know, some of the times that we had, some of the fun that we used to have on the road and stuff, things that you wouldn't believe.
Obviously, the thing that people will always associate you with, as much as being a Belle Vue legend, of course, being world champion as well. There's not many people who have been world champion. You achieved it. You got right to the very top of the sport. And in that era as well, when you consider the riders that were also in that field, a huge achievement to win it.
The problem was that during my time, there were such a lot of good riders around, like Ivan Major and Ollie Olsen and Anders Michanek, and a lot of good English riders like Dave Jessup and John Louis and Malcolm Simmons. So, you know, I didn't have it all my own way at all.
No, but an incredible field to say that you've done it against those riders.
Well, I obviously was born at the right time, because during the 70s the sport was booming, and you know, there's a lot of TV coverage, and also like the tabloid newspapers and that used to carry such a lot of Speedway.
Yeah.
I mean, when I won the world final in 1976, the Daily Mirror had a picture of me on the front page and on the back page. So I mean, that doesn't happen today either, does it?
No, very rarely. Yeah.
And being on like primetime TV
on
Saturday afternoon on World of Sport, ITV World of Sport.
And there was only three channels then.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
you know, virtually everybody was watching then.
Yeah.
And so many people now, when I'm out and about in the world, they remember that.
This bike that's with us here this evening, tell us about this bike that you brought to the event tonight at Longsight.
Well, it is the bike, the Westlake bike that I won the 1976 World Championship.
This is the one.
On, yeah.
This is the one.
In a Katowice in Poland.
Wow.
In front of 130,000 people.
That's a decent crowd, isn't it?
I mean, these days you don't get crowds that size for football matches in the northern hemisphere, do you?
Yeah,
they might have a few stadiums like that in South America that'll hold that many people, but 130,000 people in one stadium. Can you imagine the atmosphere there?
Peter Collins just coming in here. He has 12 points. A second place here will be good enough to bring the title back to England for the first time in 14 years. His opposition on the inside, Ivan Major, the danger man in red. Grid one. Next to him, Vladimir Gordeyev from the Soviet Union. On the outside, Marek Cieslak. Let's watch Collins, and he's away. Collins and Major are away together. Major leads it. Collins is in second place. This will do it. But I don't think Peter will be happy to sit back there in second place for long. A second place will be sufficient for Peter Collins to bring the world crown back to England. Major leads it, and Collins is going to play safe. The Eastern Europeans are a long way back. There's no danger to Peter, providing he doesn't do anything very daft. Major leads. Collins' second place is sufficient. He's looking over his shoulder. You've got all the time in the world, PC. That old world crown is just 2 laps away, and this, for so many involved with English Speedway, is really the fulfilment of a dream. We've been to Sweden, we've been to Australia, we've been to America following the fortunes of the English Speedway boys. We have seen the England team win the World Cup 3 times on ITV. We have never seen an England world champion, and although it's Ivan Major in front, there he is there. Collins is sitting back, high, wide and handsome in second place. He's just got about 50 metres to go as they go over the line. Major wins that one, but Collins has won the title. The title comes back to England, and the English contingent absolutely jumping mad.
And so, sitting next to this bike now, the bike that took you over the line, I mean, it's in immaculate condition, but what's your memory of that moment where it was all, sealed, that you'd actually done it? It was
yours.
Obviously,
I mean, I realised very early on that I should keep all my old bikes that I'd used in big meetings like that. And also, of course, like my World Championship winning bike, I had to keep that. And I've recently refurbished it, so it
looks incredible.
it's kind of in prime condition.
It's 1976 world champion. You must be the calmest English man in the place. How does it feel to be the official #1 of the world?
I just can't believe it. It's not struck me at all yet. I'll probably crack up when it does.
But I mean, those first couple of 3 races, you had to really battle. You weren't starting. Did you really think you were going to win it after 1 race or 2 races? Or when did you really think that crown was within your grasp?
Well, I thought my first 2 races were the hardest, and it turned out that they were. And after those first 2, well, everything just seems to go great for me. And I only needed a 2nd place to win it in the last race, so I didn't do anything silly. I just sat there and in 2nd place and crossed the line.
Fantastic, Pete.
When we think of the Collins, of course, you're a family of
dynasty
Speedway.
with all my brothers.
A dynasty, I mean, my only experience of riding a Speedway bike was with Aidan Collins.
Of course, you've done the ride and skid it at Buxton.
I did the ride and skid it, and he was saying that the conversations around meal tables when you're all together, maybe throw in more in there as well, and those conversations could be quite fun.
Oh yeah, we've obviously all got lots to talk about because we've all done so much. But like Les and Neil, they've had the more team appearances for any other riders on the planet.
Yeah,
they've done more team racing than any other riders.
So that's their argument, but then you come back with...
Yeah, well, I'm very proud about, basically my 154 caps for England, which is a record.
Yeah.
I can't ever see that record going because there just aren't enough England matches anymore or internationals.
That's a very good point, yeah.
And of course my 10 FIM gold medals for me, 5 World Team Cups, 4 World Pairs, and of course my 76 World Final. So, having there's pictures of all my medals and stuff and that in there.
Yeah.
When I say all, I mean the World Championship ones. And my 3 British League medals are in there as well.
Inside we've got Eric Bucock in the dark-coloured helmet. Next to him we have Anders Michenek digging up some dirt, trying to get a bit of extra drive to fly out of this starting grid. Next to him we have Collins, and on the far outside Tommy Jansen. Remember, it's all square, it's all on this one. England versus Sweden, Heat 13, Sheffield Stadium alight and buzzing, and here they go. Away, and Bucock has missed the start. Bucock is in. Michenek is shown first. Collins is in 2nd place. Tommy Jansen is third. What a tragedy for England, because Eric Bucock ran dreadfully in Sweden in front. Sweden with Michenek. Collins battling with all his heart for Belle Vue in England, and Collins coming through on the inside. Michenek closes the game on him. Collins drives so hard for England, the 19-year-old whiz kid, trying to get under Anders Michenek. This is what it's all about. Jansen is not finished. Michenek. Collins trying so hard for England. It's Sweden in front. Tommy Jansen, Eric Bucock's back in contention now. At the moment, this will be that Sweden will win. Michenek in front. Collins, then Jansen. Collins coming again. Collins round the wall. Michenek looks in command at the moment. He knows where he is. He's so clever. He's so crafty. He knows exactly where he's going to come from, and Collins is trying the outside. He's closed again. Bucock's coming back into contention at the back now. Collins going round the board in tremendous style, and I think he's going to do it. He's gone round it. Fantastic. Peter Collins and Bucock's come through on the inside too on this last lap. England are going to win it. England are going to win it. Fantastic.
Thanks a lot, Peter, for sharing some details of the book, and as I say, it's got loads of pictures in there and some fantastic stories as well. And if you were to pick out one story, then one chapter from this, what's the favourite chapter that from the book that you've written?
Well, there's such a lot, from like the early days of from my family and my mum and dad bringing us up on the farm and that. So we had access to motorbikes and tracks around the farm and stuff. So our parents did such a lot for us.
Yeah.
Which we all carried that on into later life.
Yeah. The farm years were, legendary.
Yeah, because I've done all my family history and it goes back to farmers in Carrington over 500 years ago.
Wow. Oh, you're deeply rooted in Manchester then, aren't you?
Yeah, well, obviously also the training grounds for Manchester United and Manchester City and Sale Sharks in Carrington are on land that my ancestors used to farm.
Are they?
Yeah.
Wow. See, all comes back to the Collinses.
Looks like it, doesn't it? Yeah.
Thanks very much for for speaking to us, Peter, and all the very best with the book too.
You're welcome. Thanks for the opportunity.
Peter Collins MBE, and a little chat I had before he signed hundreds of copies of his book. Peter Collins, Keeping It on the Tyres, his official autobiography, and you can find out more about it at retro-speedway.com. Before we go, a few times Peter mentioned in that some of his favourite tales were tales from being on the roads. And I just wanted to read you a little excerpt of a time that he visited Perth in Australia and met up with Ken Beckett and his wife Anne for a meal, and after they had a pleasant evening, they raised their wine glasses to yet another toast to the mechanics, of course, which they respected hugely, because without the mechanics they would be struggling. And a little ritual every time that they met up for dinner was to pay tribute to the mechanics. But Ken, who he was with, was always game for a laugh, and it was on a trip in Poland in 1974. He and Simo played a practical joke on a photographer for the Speedway Mail, Alf Whedon, who was also the co-owner of the Speedway Mail, and on arrival at Katowice Airport, they all had to open their suitcases to be checked by security staff, and just before Alf picked up his luggage to proceed through the terminal, Simo and Ken quickly undid both clips on Alf's suitcase while his back was turned, and Alf was sauntering across the road, about to join the rest of the party, waiting by the bus to take them off to their hotel, when suddenly his suitcase burst open. His Y-fronts tumbled out and started blowing down the road with other items of his clothing. The commotion happened in full view of the Polish police. Of course, Poland was a slightly different place there behind the Iron Curtain, but luckily the Polish guards found it just as funny as everyone else. There you go. The story of Alf's Y-fronts. They're fully detailed in Peter Collins' book, Keeping It on the Tyres. There's plenty more. So there's over 500 pages and £25 RRP, but get the details. You might even get yourself a signed copy as well. retro-speedway.com. Thanks for listening. Check back through our previous episodes if you've not heard them before. We've got chats with all sorts of people from the world of Speedway. This is our most recent one for a little while. But there's plenty of stuff to go back from over the past couple of years. We're chatting with Stuart Robson, who is going to be having his testimonial, in fact, the start of the 2023 season at Redcar, so you can hear that. Neil Vatcher, the Great Britain Under-21 manager, and also the man in charge of all the referees at the SCB. We spoke to him earlier in 2022. Also spoke with Paul Ackroyd, top former referee and now the man in charge of the Speedway Riders Benevolent Fund. We also chatted with Tom Brennan, who of course is Speedway of Nations World Champion, also the league champion with the Belle Vue Aces this year as well. Jordan Jenkins, Adam Ellis, Phil Lanning, son of a man we've heard quite a bit in this episode, of son of Dave Lanning, of course, David Howe, Chris Louis, and another Collins, Aidan Collins, and of course he is the son of Les Collins, Peter's brother, and therefore nephew of Peter Collins as well. So have a listen to any and all of those at your leisure. There's much more besides, and we're aiming to do some brand new episodes very, very soon on Humans of Speedway. Thanks a lot, take care, and we'll catch you soon.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/get100 and use code GET100. That's code GET100 at prizepicks.com/get100. for a first deposit matchup to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.